So in today's video, we're going to talk about how to overcome the obstacles, the limitations that keep us from fulfilling our soul mission, from following our heart's calling. So we draw here a little figure representing our human experience, and inside the box, it actually represents our old or current identity. So we have all the beliefs, the limitations, the fears, and also what we experience in our current reality is based on this identity that we currently have. We can call it our comfort zone, but it's a better term, I would say, our identity. What we experience and what we attract in our life is based actually on our identity and what we believe it's possible, our self-concept and everything that goes with it, our beliefs, our regular thoughts, our current and emotions that are in the range of our current identity. But what happens is that this actually keeps us safe. The role of the identity or the ego is to keep us limited, safe, and comfortable. What actually happens is that our heart's desire, right? Our heart actually is connected with our higher self, with our uh, potential, with our divine being, with the part of us which has unlimited potential. So our heart actually calls us for expansion, actually calls us to something beyond what we're experiencing at the moment. So what happens when we connect, and we can do that actually in meditation, or when we have a experience when we go beyond our minds, usually in meditation, and we connect with our hearts, we get a vision of what we truly want. It's not a logical, we don't come up with our heart's desire by making a logical assessment that comes also from the old identity. So to truly find out, first of all, what we truly want, we have to go deep within ourselves, in our hearts, and connect, expand with our higher self. So this is the higher self identity. So in order to have this vision, what is calling us, what happens is that the old identity, the old limiting beliefs, the fears, what keep us safe, are gonna react, are gonna be triggered, are gonna, when we reach our our comfort zone, wanting to go to this new identity, to this new configuration of reality, because this is on a different timeline, we will encounter resistance. Our old identity will try to pull us back to what feels safe, because it's not only logical, but it's how we feel actually in our nervous system, what we interpret as safety. So if I want to have this vision to start a YouTube channel, or to create an online business, or to share my spark, my gifts with the world. But there's a limiting belief. Who do you think you are? Imposter syndrome, not worthiness, and so on. Right? All these things are going to pull us back to the old identity. And how do we actually overcome this? How do we transcend? Because actually it's an illusion. It's not real. It's part of the ego, because we got hurt in the past, even maybe from childhood, or who knows what experience, and we created this persona and this protection mechanisms in order to keep us safe. But that keeps us also limited from following our true soul mission, our heart's desire, right? So we can choose either to stay safe and small, limited, or to expand. And that comes at the price of something uncomfortable. They will have to go through uncomfortableness. Let's call, if you want to call it pain or fear, but usually what fear is, it's an anticipation of a future pain. And usually what we would, what our mind would think of this fear of future pain, it's actually much, much less than what our minds exaggerate. But compare that with the pain of staying small, of staying in this identity for the rest of your life, for not fulfilling your true potential, for not fulfilling your true calling. Can you imagine the pain that actually accumulates over the months, over the years, if we're not making this shift, right? Even if it feels uncomfortable for the moment when we are making the shift, it's worth it. Uh, there's no doubt about it. So for that, we actually need to become bigger. We have to ascend actually on a different timeline and actually shift, upgrade our identity, the higher self identity, which is actually the person of the version of ourselves who's actually living this life, which our hearts is calling us towards, right? Where we are sharing our gifts, where we are sharing our light with the world. So how we do it? So first of all, there's this path of expansion, right? This is the first step when we align with this higher self-identity. But then it's also, how do we alchemize these old limiting beliefs, right? Because there's both ways. Like the we give the analogy with the tree, right? There's the expansion, like the branches. We connect with this frequency of our higher self, but then there's also the roots. These are the roots, are what is in our subconscious, what is actually hidden, what gets triggered when we want to ascend and to connect with our higher self, with our vision, when we want to live, embody this version of ourselves. Those old patterns will be triggered and will surface and will feel uncomfortable. And we call that a catalyst. That is actually such a big opportunity because it gets triggered from our subconscious and we become aware of it. And we have tools how to actually use it. And we have a powerful method, it's called Alive. It's a 5-step process where we learn how to actually alchemize the energy that is stored in our subconscious, because all these patterns are actually an energetic imprint in our subtle bodies, and we learn how to actually shift, transform that energy at the root, and also to identify what is the limiting belief, like I'm not good enough, it's not safe to be seen, and so on. And we learn how to actually shift that belief, because we'll challenge it and we'll see that from the higher self perspective, that's not the truth. The inner conflict or the discomfort or the pain, actually, it's an indicator that there's a contradiction between how our higher self sees things, reality, and how our old identity, our ego, perceives the same thing. And because we have a belief that it's outdated, that probably served us in the past, but is different from how our higher self actually sees reality. And who do you think has a better opinionated perspective, right? Our higher self, of course, has a much higher perspective, closer to the truth, the ultimate truth. So how we solve this inner conflict, it's actually by shifting our old beliefs in alignment with the truth of how our higher self sees the reality. So we do that by the Alive method. We're going to learn it step by step in the Catalyst integration workshop. So if you're curious and you want to learn how we actually do this step by step, the whole 5 steps, I highly encourage you to join the workshop and have this amazing experience. It will be so powerful. So it's actually learning the science of alchemy, how to actually turn lead into gold, right? Like the old alchemists used to do. The old patterns, the energetic, which are on the lower vibration, how to actually alchemize it into and turn it into fuel for our vision. and also how to identify the root problem, the limiting belief, and shift it and change it with the more empowering one. So if you're interested, make sure to find the description, the link in the description, and join us. See you in the next video.